Hey guys, it's Amanda and Barron, and we are back again with Kicking Cancer Cares. And our sponsor for the second half is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or just not sure where to start, give her a call at 503-409-4389. And she has a sign-up newsletter. I actually didn't even realize there was that. So if you're just really not sure and you don't want to reach out just yet, but you want to start getting some information, if you just type in Marianne McNally in Google, it'll bring you up to her website, and you can just put your email in and get those letters. Did you hear the
exciting news about Marianne this year?
No.
There's a group in town. It's called MVAR.
Yeah.
It's the Mid-Willamette Valley Association of Realtors, and there's 300 realtors that are part of this, and they voted on Realtor of the Year for 2024.
Oh, wow.
Guess who won?
Marianne McNally. Yes. I love that for her. She was Realtor
of the Year for the Mid-Willamette Valley.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And please keep her in your prayers as she's going through her own battle with breast cancer as well.
Yeah. Well, we're going to shift from breast cancer back to pancreatic cancer.
Yes.
And I do want to give Jennifer a chance to talk about PanCan and what are you guys doing here within the state?
So the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, it's a national organization. It started off in 1999, I think, with three folks as a nonprofit, and now there's over 60 communities across the country.
Wow.
And so their vision is to create a world in which all patients with pancreatic cancer will thrive. And their approach is through patient services, community engagement, scientific research, and government advocacy. And so their patient services, if I could, do you want me to talk about that a little bit?
You bet. In fact,
first?
we've got a slide that is probably now showing up on YouTube.
Okay.
It talks about the patient services. So yeah, let's dive into that a little bit.
So they have one-to-one personal support if you call in, and they have case managers for you. They also provide, it's a program called Know Your Tumor, where they work with you and your healthcare providers to get information about the biology of your tumor, to get targeted care and targeted therapies that are most effective for you. And they cover the cost of that testing. So that's an excellent program, very valuable for patients. They also have a database of clinical trials that, according to the biology of your tumor and what's going on with you, would be applicable to you. And so they help you find those. And then they also have support groups, as was mentioned before. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We have a monthly support group that is on Zoom. So we even have a woman who joins us from Hawaii.
Okay.
That's
and
cool.
so my partner Stephanie and I, we're both pancreatic cancer survivors, help co-facilitate that support group. It's open to folks who are going through pancreatic cancer or their family members with the spouse of a patient that joins us, because their spouse doesn't like to do groups, but she does.
Yeah.
And so she joins us. So it's just a way to get information, support. We have speakers occasionally, especially people who are doing research, or we had a pharmacist talked about side effects of chemo. So we do a variety of things that help educate and support people dealing with pancreatic cancer.
Well, and one of the things I love that you just said, Sue, Kicking Cancer was formed really because, I had this belief that we need to provide hope. We need to provide hope to people, and stories like yours and others are providing hope. But we've also got to provide education. We've got to give you a plan, and so what you're offering is both. And as I came to Amanda 2.5 years ago and stared the crud out of her saying we're going to do a radio show together, but our radio show has now reached 43 foreign nations.
Wow.
We have almost 3,700 downloads of our radio show.
So
if somebody was in Germany or somebody was in the United Kingdom, which are two of our France, those three countries are very highly downloaded shows, how could they participate in your Zoom event you're talking about? Is that
they could, and I have to defer to Jennifer. I don't know if it's on our website.
It is. So the Portland affiliate has a Facebook group, which you can post on your
that
show
is
notes
showing
or whatever.
up right here on our YouTube right now, I guarantee.
Okay, so there's a Facebook group. They usually hold them. For example, the next one is December 3rd, so around the
It's
3rd
always
of
the
month.
second It's always the first Tuesday of the month.
First Tuesday of the month.
At
Yeah.
from 6:30 to 8
Yeah.
p.m.
And the
So-
great thing is, at 6:30 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
So if somebody is in France, as long as they adjust for time zones,
Yeah.
So
then they
it
can still-
would be about 3 in the morning.
Yeah. But if you would like to participate in France,
Absolutely.
you are more than
Anyone is
welcome.
welcome to participate.
Just adjust for time zones.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. So what else do you guys provide as a support for the people, Jennifer?
So as far as some of the other areas, we could go into community. Well, do you want to talk about like the community engagement,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
I'm going off schedule now.
That's okay.
I don't want to.
I'm gonna flow with you.
Going
right
with
now.
the flow,
So-
sister.
Basically, there are so many opportunities for people to become involved, whether they want to honor their loved ones or they are with, survivors and caregivers. There's many opportunities at all skill levels to volunteer and help raise funds for scientific research, and become involved in getting these studies done, and the early detection initiatives and all of that. So the biggest fundraiser for PanCan is the Purple Stride walk, which is, they call it the ultimate walk to end pancreatic cancer. And so it's the last weekend in April every year, so April 26th.
Which
Okay.
this slide
Next
is
year.
now showing up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's held here in Portland. It's held at the same time around the country. So here in Portland, it's at PIR, Portland International Raceway. And this year we reached like 97% of our goal. I think
Oh
it
my
was
goodness, that's
$222,000 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a great group, and it is one way to get involved. You can get on PanCan's website is amazing. They help you fundraise. They help you form websites for a team, whether you want to form teams or do it individually. It's just easy to navigate and get your fundraising set up for.
Well,
that.
I'm on
So
my
I don't
phone
know.
putting that date on my calendar
great.
right now. PanCan walk right now.
And so there'll be 50 sites around the country
Oh,
that are
wow.
all doing. My sister did it at the same time in Chicago, because a good friend and colleague of hers had just died the month before. So that it's kind of cool that we are in sync all over the country on the same day, the first Saturday, or excuse
Yeah.
me, the last Saturday of April.
That's a
I
lot
love
of
that.
purple on the exact same day all over
Yeah.
the nation.
Yes.
Yes,
It is.
that's so awesome.
Yes.
I do want to reference a sheet that is now showing up on YouTube. It's the Pancreatic Cancer Facts, and this actually comes from the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, we keep referring to. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers. It has the lowest 5-year survival rate at 13%. But as you said, Sue, it used to be 5, so there's progress being made. But this one, it talks about detection. Can you talk a little bit on this, the detection part, and maybe even more so on the symptoms? Can you maybe hit on those too?
So, yeah, with the symptoms, as we talked about, they can be vague, but to pay attention, to them. Abdominal pain or upper back pain, jaundice, which is the yellowing of the skin or the eyes. Let's see, they have nausea or loss of appetite, changes in your stool, or the new onset diabetes that we talked about, and that relationship between the high blood sugar and pancreatic tumors. I don't know if you want to talk, what were your symptoms?
So
Like,
I had
did
a
you-
friend actually who the color of her urine changed to orange.
Oh,
And so, and she had no other symptoms. My mom had
Crazy.
abdominal pain for a couple of weeks. She'd
Okay.
had back pain the year before, but she was a tennis player. The first thought is, I must have pancreatic cancer. So she saw an orthopedic doctor. Her back felt better. But by the time she was diagnosed, it was already all throughout her liver, and she only lived about 5 months.
oh wow.
Very interesting that you mentioned that, because it would have been 2 years ago. Remember, we know about Jason Mowry?
Yeah.
And with Pacific Stair, and Devin was here. Jason worked for a company just outside of town, and he loved to golf, loved to fish, hunt, all that kind of stuff. In his early 40s, and it would have been 2 years ago that he was having these weird abdominal pains. Early January, they're not going away, and he turned to his wife and thought, well, maybe I just pulled a muscle, maybe I have a hernia, except it wasn't going away. And finally his wife just kept insisting that you get this checked, almost physically insisted to get this checked.
Right.
And would have been March, a year and a half ago, that he found that he had pancreatic cancer. But it had advanced far enough that he was already stage 4. As our organization we got notification in July to help in some way, and by the time we had the event planned, he had already passed away. And between diagnosis and him passing, he went from 216 pounds to 80 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, just ate the poor guy up.
Yeah,
you know?
it did.
But to your point, there was this weird pains, and they weren't going away. We talk about Jeff Morrison.
Yeah.
Same deal. 59 years old. He has this stomach ache that he thought maybe was just indigestion, you know, but it's not going away. And so I think the point I'm hearing you ladies say is, like, listen to your body, right? Listen to your body. What's it trying to tell you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to go and get something checked.
Yes.
So what are some of the great things you guys are doing at PanCan?
Well, in recognition of Awareness Month, aside from the show, we have some
Which
other.
we're thrilled that you're here during
Well,
the
and
Awareness
thank
Month.
you for having us. Yes. So the 21st is World Pancreatic Cancer Day. And if you're in downtown Portland, you'll see the bridge lights on the Morrison Bridge will be purple. The towers on the Oregon Convention Center will be lit up purple. Hopefully the Moda Center will be purple, maybe. And we're also, there's some other member volunteers that, for example, at their various places of work have done presentations and are giving information out and honoring those who have survived or who have lost loved ones by wearing purple and just bringing awareness this month. We do have some media, hopefully, usually Channel 2. Helen Raptis, who used to do AM Northwest with Dave Anderson, he passed away from pancreatic cancer, and so she's one of our big spokespersons for PanCan and our local efforts, and so we do have some media coming up too. So slowly but surely we're getting the information out there. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the most recognizable names for any of our listeners, and I don't even care where you stand politically, where you stand religiously, this guy is a name that you'll recognize, Alex Trebek.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
And Alex Trebek passed from pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and also lately there's been so Jack London with Little House on the Prairie. So he died of pancreatic cancer, and so there's the people who worked with him. They always put stuff forth, you know, different fundraising efforts, and so that's been all over social media. And Miss America's also, her mother passed away from pancreatic cancer, I believe, and so she's part of a panel that PanCan will have on. This show will air after the 21st, but it will be on the website of early detection initiatives, and information about that will be on there.
Awesome.
So check out the website. PanCan's website has an amazing amount of information for folks.
I love how so many different pieces and people in the community come together and rally around organizations and bringing awareness to certain things, because these types of things affect everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you know, I think you've seen the picture that this gentleman I mentioned, Jason Mowry, he worked for a company called Pacific Stair, and very interesting, though, he was their senior project manager. And the guy who has become a very good friend of mine named Tracy was their chief operating officer. Tracy, with the age that he was hoping to retire, so he was actually grooming Jason to take his spot. And he's like, oh, crud, I got to work a bit longer. Not that he didn't like his job, but, you know. And so when Jason passed, the whole group loved to golf. And we decided to golf early October, which is not always a great time to golf, but it can be. We got lucky, but we were golfing just for Jason.
I love it.
And he sends me a very nice check, and we do these actually as polo shirts, and they're embroidered. And he bought shirts for almost their entire staff that had Jason's name on the shirt. And there were so many purple shirts on that golf course that day.
Wow.
It had to have been so
beautiful.
magical to see it like that.
Yeah, we got the whole group together, and I'll make sure that Ashlie has a picture of this for the YouTube. We had the whole group together at the first hole, and it's just like this massive amount of people wearing purple shirts in honor of Jason, who had passed.
That's great.
You know, And when I started Kicking Cancer, my sister is battling breast cancer. I have no problem with the color pink. There's a lot of talking about the color pink, and I wanted to bring awareness to other cancers as well. And so we're bringing awareness to purple.
I love it.
Yeah. We were looking through this sheet, which is probably now showing up on YouTube, but it's 7 steps to reduce your risk. And I think you and I decided that maybe these top 3 would be good to talk about, right?
Yeah, so knowing your symptoms, as we talked about, and paying attention to them, and advocating for your health and not being shy about asking the doctor about things. Making healthy food choices, as we talked about. You are what you eat from the last episode. And get moving, so exercise, regular physical activity, reducing risks for pancreatic cancer and other cancers. I don't know if you have any...
No, those are really great ones.
And this is
really
important. This is from the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. It's from their site, and it's the same things we keep talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the same thing. You know, we say eat real food and get some movement.
Yes.
But make healthy food choices and get moving. That's what your body's designed to do.
Yes.
So, well, I do want to make sure that we leave time for both you ladies to tell your connection to pancreatic cancer. So let's start with you, Jennifer. What's your connection to this purple color?
Well, so I joined PanCan after the untimely death of my sister-in-law from pancreatic cancer in July of 2022. She was diagnosed in 2018, and as I mentioned before, it was, vague symptoms. She didn't, they didn't know what was going on. And when they found it, and she was stage 4, they had given her 18 months, and she beat the odds and was we called her a unicorn because she did a lot of outside-the-box treatments and advocacy for herself, in addition to the chemo and radiation and immunotherapy she did throughout the years. She was a writer and researcher by trade, and so she just dove into it and worked really hard while she was so sick. But she worked really hard to find new treatments, off-label drug treatments. She did acupuncture. She did yoga, meditation. She fasted. She did a medical keto diet. She did all these things, everything she could. And then what I loved also is that she not only extended her life, we all believe, through those things, but she shared her knowledge with as many people as possible through Facebook groups and articles with Prevention Magazine or online, and she had a Caring Bridge site. And so after she passed, I really wanted to, in honor of her and her family, my brother Greg and her 2 daughters, Sophie and Flora, continue her efforts of education and awareness about pancreatic cancer. And unfortunately, it's usually in a situation like this when you learn about a cancer and start to support it, which is the unfortunate part. But heck, we didn't even know what does the pancreas do? When we found out she had the tumor, we're like, oh my gosh, everybody's, researching everything. But, she lived a good life. She was strong during her treatments and really, I think, brought some awareness about some new things that other people might not have found out about. So.
Well, look how much she changed your life, and then look at how much you're educating so many others because of it.
I hope so.
Yeah,
we're trying.
Right? Silver lining.
Well, the good news is, I guess the good news is the untimely death of your sister inspired you to do things. Yeah. But we want to offer hope.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what she did. Yeah.
And Sue is here as a survivor of pancreatic cancer. So can you share your story with us, Sue?
Yeah, my story starts with my mom, Peggy, who was diagnosed. I even brought a little picture of my mom. She was an amazing woman.
Make sure the camera can see your mother here.
Yeah. I'm one of 8 children. She was an educator, a true badass, pardon my mouth. But
our listeners will have no problem with that. We have a donkey on our show for crying.
Right, and so she's still in her early 70s, was teaching part-time, and always was doing volunteer work, and just had some funky symptoms where she was having a pretty intense abdominal pain. Came home from a trip with my dad, saw her oncologist, who just said, "Oh, Peggy, let's just do a CAT scan," and the CAT scan showed that she had multiple metastases already in her liver and pancreatic cancer. And so, she This was in 2000, and she lived for 5 months.
Wow.
And so having already been working as an oncology social worker, it's not unusual to see people with pancreatic cancer. And back when I started my career, life expectancy was pretty brief. And so that just gave me more motivation to be involved, because my mom was the most important person in my life, and really has fueled who I am as a human being. And so because of that, the 8 of us have been careful to look at, our dad also had colon cancer at 34. I had breast cancer in 2006. So just being conscious, being an oncology social worker, just being conscious of risks and need to really take care of yourself. So I was just having some unusual abdominal symptoms, went to my primary care physician. She said, they're vague, but let's watch them. Then went to see my GI physician, who said, because of your cancer history and your mom's diagnosis, have you ever had an abdominal CAT scan? And they found that I had a small tumor on the tail of my pancreas, which meant I didn't need a Whipple.
Right.
So the good news with this, there is a rare type of pancreatic cancer called a neuroendocrine tumor, which a small percentage of people have that diagnosis, which is a much more favorable and treatable and curable. So I had surgery in January of 2022 to remove the tail of my pancreas. So your son has his tail, my tail is gone.
Yes.
And so I didn't need additional treatment.
Okay.
So I see my surgical oncologist, and it just so happens that at OHSU, excuse me, one of the country's experts on this rare tumor, Dr. Rodney Palmier, is on faculty at OHSU. So he is my doctor and takes care of me and a lot of other folks with neuroendocrine tumors. So, in terms of the whole wage hope, and my training as a social worker in oncology is that sometimes we all have hope, and sometimes what we're hoping for changes because our lives change. But what this physician trained me is that there's always something we can hope for, even if it's we have comfort at the end of our life, if we have meaningful days with our family. And so no matter what someone's circumstances, there's always a role for hope. And as my palliative care team would tell patients that we serve in the community, is that we're going to hold hope with you and for you. And that may change, but we want you always to hang on to something that fuels you and gives your families hope. And the hope now is, for example, the amazing things that you're doing on behalf of your sister-in-law.
Yes.
That legacy, or that my mom, or the other people that we know that have died or are living with pancreatic cancer.
Great stories, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming in and sharing and bringing awareness to pancreatic cancer this month. In our last couple of minutes, I've been walking our listeners through a little timeline. Kickin'Cancer started in 2018, and we're now in the timeline. We're into 2022, and last week we told that wonderful story of the 2 avocados and the tough cookie.
Yes. Oh man.
What had happened back then, as I was working at FedEx, and we would wear these shirts on Mondays. As many people as wanted, they would buy a shirt, and we'd all wear our Kickin'Cancer shirts at work. I worked in the middle of the night loading the trucks, and as it got colder, some of them wanted hoodies. So we started making custom hoodies, and this one girl wanted a lime green one, and I told the story of her why for getting it. But then, in our timeline, this other coworker wanted a pink one, and it's a bright pink hoodie. And so I got that hoodie for her, and I delivered it to her, and the two of us went to the Globe there at Riverfront Park.
Yes.
And right now I'm sure that picture's showing up on YouTube, but it was me delivering that hoodie to Tiffany, and we had a picture together with that bright pink hoodie. So if any of you would like a hoodie, we sell them. They're $60, but they're customized. And so for in your case, Sue, it would be a purple hoodie, and it would say honoring Sue Best, survivor. And they're customized hoodie. Now in that case, it was for somebody, so she wore one with her mother's name on it who had passed from breast cancer. But that was happening in our timeline.
Yes, awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And once again, just a reminder to the listeners, we do have this little challenge out there for you. So if you missed the tip in the little fun fact of the first one, you want to email Amanda so that we can shout you out next week.
Yes, Amanda at kslm.news.
And our little tip for you, if you drink a cup of coffee a day, it does double your chances of...
I'll edit you out.
Okay, thank you. just
mute.
Hit mute. I think the bigger
Take it
message
back.
is we need to be aware of what we're eating.
Absolutely.
We need to be aware of what we're
Absolutely.
eating, so.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, both so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Feel honored
you
to
for
be
having
here.
us.
So
Same.
thank
you.
you.
Huge shout out to our sponsor for the second half, which is Marianne McNally, who is with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or just not sure where to start, definitely reach out to her. Her number is 503-409-4389. And we'll be back next week
As the movement continues.